Hello, 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 and welcome to day 3 of the Progress Push Challenge. I am your host, Tiffany Rochelle, the behind the scene queen. I am the founder of the Wisdom Fountain, which you are probably watching this in, and the best-selling author of Dear Leader, a personal guide for leaders through peace, pandemic, and protest. And today we are on day 3 of Progress Push, a 5-day challenge to get ourselves in alignment, get our projects done, and get our goals met in the world. So yesterday I had technical difficulty and I ended up someplace else and not in this space. So before I get started, I am just checking to see if all my places are live. Because, of course, I'm in this space and it doesn't let me see the comments. And I'm doing this by myself. Okay. So, if you're here, I appreciate you being patient with me as I check to see if I am actually live. Am I live? Am I live, y'all? Am I live? Okay, there I am. See myself. We're good. We are good. This is where I wanted to be. This is what I wanted to say. We're good. Okay, so I can see comments when you come in. Listen, this is some of the things that you have to do and you have to go through to be a one-man show and to get things done. So if you know nothing else about me, you know I am authentic and honest about the challenges that I face while I do these things. So I appreciate you. I appreciate you showing up to rock with me and hopefully to, get some encouragement to get some things done for yourself. So let me pull up my notes, y'all. Yesterday was day 2, and we were evaluating our progress. So, just a quick recap. Um, from the first 2 days, the things that I went over is what goals have you set, your thoughts and emotions that have come up around these goals that you've set, that may be impeding you or maybe spurring you on. Like, why did you set them? Who did you set them for? What did you set them around? And how you're feeling about it now. Because I know for me, the way I felt last week isn't the way I feel this week. Some of us may be hitting that first quarter tiredness. We may be hitting that first quarter. What did I get myself into? I don't even know what it was that I planned, why I planned it. All of that is okay. I'm just here to tell you all of that is okay. All of it is normal. It doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make you less than. It just makes you human. And so, one thing that we celebrate here is humanity. One thing that we also celebrate is our divine alignment with one who we have been sent here to be and how we have been sent here to dispense our gifts. And so, I know that part of my assignment in this world is to help God's children to operate in their freedom of serving Him, specifically how He designed us to be. So, with that being said, let me pick back up on day 2. I left you all with some homework on what have you learned, right? What has worked, what hasn't. Hey, Esty, welcome, welcome. It's good to see you. What have you learned thus far? What have you learned thus far with the things that you have taken on for this year? Did you learn what works? Did you learn what didn't work? Have you paid attention to the time of day that works best for you? Have you paid attention to the location or the environment that works best for you? What have you learned? Have you learned that maybe you set a goal to get something big done, but there's some little steps in between that maybe you didn't know you needed to take care of? All of these things are important because once we understand these things, then it'll help us continue to not just set goals, but to actually succeed and be successful in getting things done. So again, this whole purpose of this challenge is to push us to keep going, to not give up on whatever goal it was that we set, and to have encouragement and company. And I think I know yesterday that I mentioned that sometimes we'll start something and we'll say, I use food because food is always a good and easy example. Some of us are trying to learn to fast. I live a fasted lifestyle. And even though I live a fasted lifestyle, I still have to set my mind whenever it is that I want to fast. I still have to put my mind into a position that allows me to be successful, right? I've learned things that work for me to make me successful in fasting and some that don't. So if you are looking to improve your eating habits, or if you are seeking to fast, one thing that might happen is you might start, right? And say, oh, I'm going to fast for 3 days. And then halfway through the first day, you forget that you're fasting. You pick up a donut, or you pick up a cookie, or you pick up a cracker, or you pick up a piece of candy. And then you're like, oh my goodness, I broke my fast. Now I'm done. No, you're not. Yesterday, I said, dust yourself off and try again. So remember, keep dusting ourselves off and trying again. Just because we didn't do it perfectly doesn't mean that we can't get it done. Just because you didn't do it perfectly doesn't mean that you can't get it done. I'm going to say that one more time. Just because you're not doing it perfectly doesn't mean that you still can't get it done. You can. What those imperfections are learning curves. Those are learning spaces where you've had an experience. You go, oh, I was here and I picked up food and I didn't pay attention. Or, oh, I didn't get up as early as I thought because maybe that time doesn't work for me. I'm not my most productive in that time. I'm sorry, I have an eyelash or something on my face. So the question is, again, what have you learned? What has worked? What hasn't worked for you? Why has it worked or has it not worked for you? And what are the obstacles to your success that you've encountered? I believe in taking inventory in the midst of, don't wait until you get to the end of the time frame. Don't wait until you get into the end of the project to take inventory to decide what is working for you. Because sometimes you need to pivot, and to be able to pivot again, you have to know exactly what it is that you're dealing with. Okay. Okay, Esty, thank you. Thank you for being transparent and sharing that with us. Esty said that she learned that she avoids things that can cause the feel of rejection, and it makes her avoid making phone calls. That is such a beautiful and perfect example, because who likes to be told no, right? Who likes to feel like people don't want what you have? Um, nobody, nobody, none of us wants to be rejected. If I can offer this in that scenario, Esty, understanding that those no's aren't personal, and they're actually training ground for you to, one, hone your conversation. Because a lot of times people say no, not because they don't want what you have, because they don't understand what you're offering. They don't understand how what you're offering will benefit them. They don't understand how you're the expert and what you're giving them is actually going to make them look better. So I'm not sure what your pitch is or how you're speaking to them. And because I know you, you can call me later. We can talk about it. But this helps you to get really clear in the conversation and the ability to say, listen, you want me because this is how it's going to make you look better. This is how it's going to benefit your staff, your children. It's going to benefit your position. It's going to benefit those around you, because unfortunately, human beings are selfish and they want to know, with them, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? And a lot of times we as service people, right? Because we're leaders, so we're serving in some capacity. And a lot of times when we offer information to people, we're offering it to them based on telling them why we're special. So that's why it feels more like rejection, right? Like, I'm telling you I'm special. I'm telling you that I'm great at this, and you're telling me no. So, am I not special? Am I not great at this? No, that's not what it means. Change your viewpoint, change your perspective, and say, okay, what do they actually think they need? So I had to, and I'm going to say, I had to personally learn how to present people with what they want so that I could give them what they need. Most people don't even know they need what I offer. You know me, you've spoken to me. You know, most people don't even think that they know that they need what I have. Why? I deal with high functioning leaders. I deal with people with multiple degrees. I deal with people with successful businesses, lots of money, people with great callings, right? People who hear directly from God, people who have all these accolades. So oftentimes when I talk to them, they think, well, I've taken all the classes. What can you teach me? Oh, this is just leadership. I've taken all the leadership information, right? So I had to learn how to not sell them on me, but to speak to them and discover their pain points so then they can start to feel like, oh my goodness, I need to talk to you more because you're addressing something that is an issue for me. So I hope that helped, Esty. But again, like I said, you're my girl, so you can call me later. But when we figure out what's working, this is a perfect example of not knowing or knowing and learning what works and what doesn't work. So all this is a period of adjustment, because they are not rejecting you because they don't know you. It's not personal. Their no's just mean they don't understand. That's it. They don't understand. So we're going to get better at making them understand. And they're going to be knocking on your door and saying, oh my goodness, we want this program because this is what it's going to do for us. This and the person in charge, this is how it's going to make me look good. This is how it's going to benefit my numbers, benefit my bonus, benefit my district, right? You tracking with me? So that, again, that's a perfect example of why it's important to take inventory on what's working and what's not working, because sometimes what we think is the issue is not actually the issue. So today, after we've identified what's working and what's not working, today we want to prioritize and identify the next steps. So how first are we going to overcome the obstacles that have been placed in our path or that we've encountered? Right? I spoke a lot about how oftentimes we get interrupted because we think that, oh, I didn't do it perfectly, so I'm just not going to do it, or I have to do it next time, or I'm not able to do this at all. No, readjust. Readjust. Readjust for your success. Readjust. Yesterday, I think that's the thing that I left with, is whether you have to restart, refocus, readjust, right? And if you have started something and put it down because you thought you couldn't do it, hint, hint, avoiding making calls, today in our prioritizing, we're going to readjust, right? We're going to readjust. We can readjust our approach to what it is that we have started. We can readjust our mindset so that we can look at it from a new perspective. And we can readjust the goal. You know, this is funny as I say this. I don't know how many of you watch soccer or pay attention to soccer. I only know about soccer because my ex-husband was a professional soccer player and my oldest son is a professional soccer player. So one of the things that I found funny and they found funny is that when the U.S. really began to take on soccer, and sorry, when the U.S. began to take on soccer and participate and wanted to call themselves world champions, you know what the U.S. did? They readjusted the goals. They made the goalpost, which the whole world uses. Sorry, pause. Hey, Janelle. Okay, hold on a second. I gotta get some water. Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. What they did was they made the goalposts wider so that they would have a better opportunity to make more goals, to make themselves champions, right? Now, while I don't agree with moving the goal so that you can appear better, right? And forgetting everything else around you, I don't mind shifting the goal personally so that you have a better chance of achieving and attaining it. Right? Sometimes it's you need to shift the goalpost. Sometimes you need to shift the goalpost. I can again use myself as an example. So I've written a book and I started a course and I had this idea for doing this app, which is still going to happen. But what I found out was there were a whole bunch of little things that I needed to do first before I was able to have the content and have the clear direction for the app that I want to do. So all this time I'm going, I got to get this app done. I got to get this app done. I got to get this app done. But when I sat down to do the app, I'm like, but what am I going to put in here? What am I going to sell on this app? How am I going to organize this app? I had to adjust the goal. I had to adjust the goal by implementing some incremental goals. I had to implement some smaller goals in order to reach my larger goal. Is that making sense what I'm saying? Readjust the order in which you do some things. So um, I'm going to go back to what you were talking about, Esty. You may have to readjust the order because you have come out and said, hey, I need to call these people. But maybe what you need to do first is get some more clarity around the benefit of what you have. I'm all for get it start, right? Start, get it started. Don't hold back. Don't wait. Don't procrastinate. But in the middle of that, sometimes we got to go, okay, let me put a pause on this because now I've done this, but it's not quite where I need it to be. So let me just go back to the drawing board a little bit. I'm not stopping, I'm readjusting. And then you change the order. You change the order because maybe you thought this was more important and you found out this is more important, or you thought this was more important and you found out this was more important, right? So you need to switch, change the order in order to be successful. Good morning, everybody who's joining. Thank you, Nikki. Hey, Sonia. Hey, Daneo. Right? In order to overcome obstacles that are obstacles to our success, we need to step back a little bit, maybe swerve around the obstacle by reordering, readjusting what it is that we are prioritizing. And here's an interesting thing. When we prioritize, again, creating those systems of incremental discipline. Incremental discipline. Don't try to take it all on at once. Don't know that it's going to take time to build a website and then you say, I'm going to get this website done by the end of the week. And you don't know how to build websites. How are you going to do it? Who's going to do it, Sway? Oh, I need to do this. If you have things to in your goals list that require help, you got to factor in time for help, for outside resources, for outside help. and everybody's not on your time schedule. So maybe your goal of getting a website done can't be a week. Maybe you say, I know I can contact a person, I can give them the content, get the images that I want on this time frame for a couple of weeks, and by the end of the third month I should have my website done. That's an instance of prioritizing and setting yourself up for success. Setting yourself up for success. Because a lot of us, again, we're taking on new adventures, we're becoming entrepreneurs, we're starting new businesses, and we're like, oh, I'm just going to get this done. No, there's a lot of steps, and it's okay, because sometimes you don't know the steps until you start stepping. How many of you have not have started stepping and then realize, oh, there's some other steps that are in between here that I didn't know that I had to take? Me. Definitely me. I started doing something, I was gung ho, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh, there's some additional steps here. My thighs are hurting, my calves are hurting, because these are some extra steps I didn't know I had to take. These are extra steps I didn't know I had to take. But again, going into being familiar with you and what works with you, because what works with you may not work with me. I know some of you wake up early in the morning. I'm not an early riser. I'm not. I'm not. Half the time I'm going to bed at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, because that's when I get creative sparks. That's not by choice either, because I like my sleep. But I also understand how to work within that system, that when I am on that type of creative spark, I I let it flow. Oh, hold on, there's somebody at my door. Who's at my door? Maintenance. Okay, guys, I don't. This is funny. I'm going to tell you why this is funny, because normally I don't have interruptions, but I've been having all kind of interruptions this week. But I'm gonna get it done. So you guys, hold on just a second. I'm in my back bedroom in my office, but you can go ahead and come in, okay? Come in.
Open?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
Yes. I'm in my office. I'm in the back. So just go ahead in the kitchen.
Okay.
Come in.
Now that check my keys.
Do I need to come open it? This is funny, y'all. Give me a minute. Okay, hold on a second. Okay, guys. 1 minute.
I don't know where is my key. See? Sorry. Hey, my friend. ¿Cómo estás, mi friend? I'm in the back. It's okay.
This is the funniest recording I think that I've done, but y'all get it all live and raw. So I thank you for being here in this and sitting with me through this. But I also think that this is also a teachable moment. This is exactly what happens when we are trying to get things done. We get interruptions, we get distractions, we get phone calls, we get people who come and we're not expecting. We have unexpected visitors, we have unexpected things. Our cars break down, our computers blow up, our printers stop working, our pens run out of ink, we run out of paper, we have no electricity, the Wi-Fi goes down. All these things happen, and how we address them and take them in stride is going to determine how we process and are successful with our goals. Look at that. Look at that pivot on your girl. You see that? I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I hope that y'all are enjoying this information on day 3 of this challenge. Prioritize what your work is. Break it down 3 times. If you're not sure Okay, hold on. If you're not sure how something is going to work, take it down 3 times. Take it into 3 steps. So Arthur says, can I give an opinion between setting realistic goals versus stepping out on faith? Okay, that's a great question, Arthur. So I believe that stepping out on faith, for me, it has a lot to do with the assignment or the urges that have been put in me, right? So I was told to write a book. God told me to write a book. Realistically, I could set the goal to finish the book in 6 months, right? That's a realistic goal. However, my emotions, my motivation, all that stuff took a factor in. Moving, living took a factor. So what I thought was 6 months ended up being 3 years. I set a goal, but things happened in the meantime. But then God said, I said, get it done. And my faith had to kick up that whatever I completed, whatever I did was sufficient, what it was. So there's a mixture of the two. Sometimes we put off setting goals because they don't feel realistic to us, because we don't have the money, we don't have the time, we don't have the resources, seemingly, right? So it may not appear realistic to us, but if God has told us to do it, that's when the faith kicks in and we say, you know what, I'm going to step out and do this anyway, even though I don't see the money, I don't see the resources, and I'm going to move. And then things will come because we're being obedient to the assignment. For me, I'm in a life where I don't do anything that's not my assignment. I don't do anything beyond. And I'm at the point where I understand when things come into my mind, they're divine inspirations. That's another thing that I think that it's important for us to get clear of our conversations and our relationship with God. I coach leaders who oftentimes hear so clearly from God, but they still doubt that he's telling them to do what he's asking them to do because they still have doubts about who they are and their capabilities. So that's the other part of stepping out on faith, understanding that your capabilities are divine. And when you rely on God to activate, inspire, update, fast pace, turbo boost your inspirations, right? Then you're kind of moving along going, okay, God's got this. I hope this is answering your question. Please let me know if it is. I can use another example. For me, I'm a speaker. I speak all over the world. I was invited to speak in India one time, and I kept trying to prepare for this speech, and I couldn't get the words. I couldn't get it together. I couldn't figure out. I was like, okay, what is this? What is this? What is it I have to say? I had months to prepare. Up until I left and went to India, I still did not know exactly what I was going to talk about, right? But I went anyway. I didn't cancel. I didn't back down. I went, and just before I went onto stage to speak about what I thought I was speaking about, Holy Spirit told me to change what I was talking about. And so I just opened my mouth. I said, okay. And I opened my mouth, and I was divinely guided to speak what needed to be spoken. That's an example of setting a goal and stepping out on faith. I had the goal that I was going to deliver the speech, that I was preparing it, but then I allowed the faith to believe that God had something that he was going to divinely inspire me to say, to guide me. Does that make sense, Arthur? If it's making sense, y'all, please let me know, because I stopped seeing comments and I just want to make sure. Does that help? Okay. Yes. Thank you, Arthur. There's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of unknowns when you're walking kingdom focused and you're walking in the divine assignment that the Lord has given you. And each of us has our own personal divine assignment. We do. And sometimes it's something that nobody else is doing. I know for me personally, there's a lot of things that I have had to be a groundbreaker on. And I begged, can I get a mentor? Can I get somebody else who's doing it so they can show me the blueprint? And it was like, no, I'm doing a new thing. You're going to do what I tell you to do. And I'm like, but I don't know what you're trying to tell me to do. I don't know. This looks weird. I've never seen it before. Can't you give me like a little script? Can't you give me a little help? Can't you give me a clue? And in those spaces, I had to be willing to be uncomfortable. I had to be willing to not know the answer and still go forward. I had to be willing for it to look different than I had ever seen before and believe that it was exactly what I was supposed to do. Sometimes what you're being required to do is exactly what you're supposed to do and nobody else. Doesn't matter who's had your title, doesn't matter who's walked before you, doesn't matter who's been an example. You may be being called to do something exactly for you, uniquely for you. That's why it's important to listen and adjust according to what is working with your walk and your assignment. Okay, you are the blueprint. I believe that, Arthur. I believe that fully. You are the blueprint. And when you are the blueprint, all you can do is trust. All you can do is trust, because I know what it's like to walk and not have somebody in front of you. I can 100% tell you I have a unique assignment in the kingdom. Now, does it mean that there aren't other people out there like me who may have similar assignments? No, there are definitely people who have similar assignments to me, but my leadership assignment is different than your leadership assignment. The leaders that I'm supposed to deal with and how I'm supposed to deal with them is different than what your assignment may be, right? I work with them behind the scenes to heal and work through the things in the dark so that they can shine in the light. You may be called to prepare them financially so that they can perpetuate and help other people. But you may be called to do it in a different way. You are the blueprint, and trust that. And then in these spaces, you're learning not just to prioritize and to do things different. You are learning self-control, self-management, your character building, you're building your integrity. I can say that early on my journey, is I like to ask myself the tough questions. I ask people tough questions, but I ask myself tough questions too. And I was like, could I be bought? Could I be bought? Could I be sold? And I didn't believe I could, right? I didn't believe I could because I have integrity. But you know, they always say everybody has a price. Well, until I went through my own personal training, until I went through my own personal walk with God, I couldn't answer that unequivocally yes. Now, because I've been in spaces, I know that somebody could offer me $1 million today, and my bank account don't look like it would like $1 million. My bank account would love $1 million, right? Somebody could offer me $1 million today, but if it's not in alignment with what God has me doing, if it's out of integrity, if it's out of order, I can say no. Because guess what? If they're willing to offer me $1 million to be out of integrity, I know that my Father, God, will give me 10 times that much for being obedient. Hold on a second. See? Okay. Quemado. Y la nevera también. ¿Tú sabes lo mismo cosa todavía? Líquido, el agua, el abajo.
Siempre.
Siempre, todavía.
Que yo checo la charola, creo es rota.
Sí.
Que yo checo abajo, yo creo que es rota, está quebrada.
Ok.
Cuando el agua cae ahí, viene para abajo, quebrada.
Ok.
Yo checo.
Ok, gracias. Ok, cierra la puerta. Yo voy a hablar contigo más tarde. All right, I'm back. This is the absolute weirdest recording I've ever done. But thank you. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm going to wrap this up. I think. Do I have any more questions? Arthur, I love the questions that you're asking. I love the questions that you're asking. I just want to make sure that I fulfill what it is that I want to talk about today about identifying our next steps, right? Once you prioritize what it is that, once you prioritize what it is that you are, one, looking to get done. So, okay, let me go back here. Incremental discipline and incremental goal setting. We are at the first quarter of the year. We still have 8 months left. We're in warp speed. It's going to happen really quickly. Don't get anxious about the time. Get intentional. Don't be anxious about the time. Be intentional. So readjust. We're readjusting and we're refocusing. We're looking at what it is that we set out to do and accomplish this year. And maybe you can't see as far as December, but you're in April now. What can you do, or what would you like to see finished between now and July? That's another quarter. Give yourself a time frame for this quarter. Look at where you came from, what you've accomplished. Remember, we're celebrating what we actually got done, and then we're bringing those along, and we might have to add some more for this quarter, right? Well, I'm adding this and I'm adding that. Get your calendar out, get your notebook out. I know for me, I'm not very good with electronic calendars. So what do I need? I need a physical one so I can write it down, so I can look at numbers, so I can look at dates. Get your calendar out. If you don't do good with calendars, you know what? Get a whiteboard. Put your stuff down. Look, see these things, products, membership site. These are things and dates. And I did that. They didn't come like that. I set that up like that, right? Maybe you need visual representation. Maybe you don't have a whiteboard. Get the Post-its that go on the wall and put a big piece of white paper and tape it up on the wall and say, this is what I need to do. Add to it, subtract from it, so that you can see your progress and see your need. See your progress and see your need. And in that, you can say, oh, okay, I can do this in 3 weeks. And then work to get it done, because at the end of the day, no matter what goal we set, no matter what desire we have, it's going to require our participation. It's going to require our intention. It's going to require our work. There's no magic genie lamps to rub. There's no abracadabra to say. There's no, Lord, can you zap it and make it happen? That is going to do that. It requires our hands, our fingerprints, our work, our talent. And everything that you need to get done may not feel good. It may not be desirable. It may be actually boring and minute and minuscule and very detail oriented and tasking. I get it. Take a little piece. If it's a big piece of stuff that you don't like doing, break it down into 5 pieces. Break it down into 3 pieces. You know what? This whole project will take me a week to do. You know what I do? I'm going to do this much this week. I'm going to do this much this next week, and I'm going to do this much this following week. It's going to equal a week, and it's going to be done. So break it down. Don't be afraid to break it down. Break it down so you can get it done. Oh, this thing is going to be 20 hours of work. All right, I don't have 20 hours that I can sit and do this. So let me do 20 minutes for 10 days. Let me do 2 hours for 5 days. Let me do 1 hour for 10 days. Like, whatever it is that you need to do. Break it down to get it done. Don't set yourself up for failure by not being willing to do the hard stuff, the minuscule stuff in pieces and parts. That's not cheating. It's not. And some of us have the habits from youth of doing things at the last minute. I'm one of those people. I was a person who in school, they would give me 3 weeks to create a project, to write a paper, and I was that person who would do the paper, the project a night before it was due, or 2 days before it was due, even though I had 3 weeks to do it. And the issue is, I always worked better under the pressure. So I would get A's on these projects that I didn't take 3 weeks for. But now, you know what that's created for me as an adult? A bad habit. A bad habit of needing pressure to produce. So some of us are creating pressure in order for us to produce, but now we're adults and we have a whole bunch of other adult things going on in our lives, and then we're not succeeding like we desire to, because we're still operating like we did when we were in school. Right? I have to catch myself on that all the time, because Lord knows when I have too much time to think about stuff, I feel like my brain is just, look at that squirrel, right? It's look at the bird over there, look at this, look at that. But when I realize that, oh, if I hold up, because too much stuff happens as an adult. Unexpected stuff, too much unexpected stuff happens as an adult. So I don't have the luxury of waiting. You don't have the luxury of waiting. And if we remember that, it's going to help us prioritize and put things in place so that we can be successful. So I hope that this weird broadcast has helped you today and that it's giving you some tools to help you to prioritize and to identify the things that you're going to need to do in order to take the next steps, right? Identify your next steps. Did it help? Did it make sense? Remember, discipline is flexibility. We're learning to be flexible. We're learning to be consistent. Consistency is a key to success. Identifying the steps you need to take and prioritizing them. Okay? All right, y'all. Well, I appreciate you. And we only have 2 more days. So today was prioritize and identify your next steps. Tomorrow will be implementation. And then on the last day, we're going to review, put it all together. So in the meantime, I love you all. And until the next time, be wise. I'll see you tomorrow for day 4 of the Progress Push 5-Day Discipline Challenge. Thank you for attending. See you later.